it's 7 o'clock, and look at you, you're all quiet, it's wonderful. Thank you. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Northeast Candidates Forum. I'm Meg Downey, I'm president of Millerton, and for those of you who don't know me, I began my career in journalism more than 45 years ago as editor of the Millerton News, and then later became executive editor of the Dixie Journal. And after that, I went down to Nashville, Tennessee, was managing editor of the Tennessean there, and after 7 years of a commuting marriage, I came back 5 years ago, and I'm now working as Chief Marketing Officer at the May Institute in Rhinebeck. So I want to lay out some of the rules before we start, and these are rules that both parties have agreed to. Questions should only be posed by residents of the town of Northeast or representatives of the press. Candidates may not ask questions of each other. Questions must be pertinent to the actions and role of the town board or county legislature and not relate to other jurisdictions. So no foreign policy questions or village governance questions. Please stick to one question at a time and keep it short. You'll get a much better response that way. People may have a chance to ask a second question if there aren't that many people asking questions. But I will try to go around and make sure that everybody gets a chance to ask once at least. If you could state your name and whether you're directing your question to a particular candidate or if you want all candidates for that particular race to answer, if you can make that clear. And then if you want all candidates to answer, I will direct to which candidate will speak first. If necessary, we're going to extend the forum by half an hour so that we may go to 8:30 to accommodate all the questions. The candidates' answers will be limited to 1 minute, and when they have 15 seconds left, I'll be raising my hand. And then when their time is up, I will hit Mrs. Husted's bell from the school. And I think that she used it well to bring her class to attention, so I'm counting on that still having that power.
Take a little part from that.
And do know that those who are watching the clock do know that I will let someone finish their sentence. The candidates also will be able to stay afterwards to answer your questions, so that's something important for you to know. So if you don't have a chance to ask in the public session, you certainly can ask afterwards. Okay. So now I'm going to introduce the candidates, and after they are all introduced, each of them will have 2 minutes to make a statement. So from the left, for representative of District 19 to Dutchess County Legislature, we have incumbent Greg Pulver, who is a Republican, Conservative, and Independence Party candidate. And next to him is Dick Hermans, who is Democratic and Working Families Party candidate. Then the candidates for the Northeast Town Board are John Midwood, incumbent and Democratic Party candidate. Robert Cooper, an incumbent and a candidate for the Republican and Northeast Together parties. Lana Morrison, a candidate for the Republican and Northeast Together parties. And one thing to note here is that registered voters in the town of Northeast will be able to choose 2 of these 3 candidates who are running for 4-year terms. The 2 highest vote getters, regardless of party, will be elected. And then for Northeast Town Clerk, the incumbent, Lisa Cope, is running as a Republican and Friends and Neighbors Party candidate. And Gail Wheeler is a Democratic Party candidate. And then finally, for Northeast Town Board Supervisor, Chris Kennan, currently a Northeast Town Councilman, is running as a Democratic Party candidate and is unopposed. So we'll start we're going to start the 2 minutes with Chris Kennan, and take it away, Chris.
Okay. Thank you all for coming out. As Meg just said, I'm Chris Kennan. I'm a member of the town board, the town of Northeast, and since I am running unopposed, looks like I will be your supervisor. I'd like to talk a little bit about what my thoughts are for the next 4 years going forward. But before I do that, I would like to take the opportunity to say a word about our current supervisor, George Kay. Over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to work with George very closely and to observe his work. And to my mind, he has been a very conscientious, responsible, thoughtful town supervisor. He has led the way on some really important initiatives for the town and progressed the town, including being the advocate and catalyst for a new comprehensive plan for the town, as well as getting our new town village highway garage project actually underway and under construction. And it has been a real privilege for me to have worked with George over the last 2 years. I would like to talk a little bit about 3 things, all relating to the economy. First of all, taxes, a thing that really hits everybody in the town. It is my goal to show the same kind of fiscal restraint that George has shown over the past 4 years. But that's going to be a challenge because we have some really big projects underway. The new highway garage, which I just mentioned, which is going to extend over the next 2 years, and a new contract with Northern Dutchess paramedics. Those are big challenges. Second thing is the supermarket. A lot of people have talked to me about the supermarket. There are things that the town can do to get a new supermarket. You don't want the town board trying to run a supermarket. You're going to end up with all mustard and no ketchup. Anyway, and then the last thing is I'd like to work with the village as closely as possible on the renovation, revitalization of Eddie Collins Field and on the wastewater treatment system for the village, which are important to the village and to the town. Thank you.
Okay, so next we'll be talking to the 2 candidates for town clerk. Are you speaking? Gail will start that.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Gail Wheeler. As Meg said, I'm running for town clerk. I've been a resident of Northeast for nearly 3 decades. In 1989, I met my husband in the village. We married in '92 and raised our son here. And he's currently a corporal in the United States Marines. We attend Faith Bible Chapel, and I volunteer for the tax service program at the Northeast Community Center. I have managerial experience in banking and a degree in paralegal. I also have experience as the Zoning Board of Appeals Secretary and Deputy Town Clerk. During my time in the ZBA office, I took on the task of revamping that office. I restructured the computer files, updated the general filing, and created procedure manuals. In addition, I reformed the naming of the main files to reflect property identification instead of the owner identification to allow for faster and accurate searches simply because owners change over time. I want to continue this work with the permanently stored files and then find a viable process where we can merge information between our retention and property database programs. Moreover, I want to continue the focus on organizing and digitizing other town documents to retain the quality, protect information, reduce clutter, and provide a quicker retrieval time. I hope to adjust the clerk's hours to provide evening availability 1 day a week. I will provide extended hours in February to accommodate tax collection, and again in August to accommodate the opening of sales for New York State licensing, sporting license sales. In addition to managing a cost-effective and efficient office, I hope to pursue a couple of revenue-generating services. I also want to work with various organizations to provide the clerk's office with more public information about services to benefit our residents. And I hope these accomplishments and goals warrant your consideration.
Hello, thank you for coming out tonight. I'm Lisa Pope. I am seeking the 3rd term as the Town of Northeast Town Clerk. I was raised here in Dutchess County. My family moved here in 2004 to purchase our first home, and my husband Gary and my son Zach work for Salisbury Bank. My daughter Danielle attends the University of Rhode Island, and my youngest daughter Caitlin is a freshman at the high school. I was elected to the office of Town Clerk for 2 terms. Prior to being elected to that office, I worked for the Town of Northeast from 2005 as the secretary to the Planning, Zoning, and Building Department. I am seeking a third term to serve our residents in a job that I am dedicated and committed to and really enjoy. The clerk's office is the gateway and information center for town residents and the first line of contact with Town Hall. I love being able to help residents find the information they are seeking, whether it be selling them a hunting license, issuing a marriage license, retrieving a vital record, running a genealogy search, paying their tax bill, or simply looking for an answer to a question about the town. I am always willing to assist. Since being elected to the office, some of what I accomplished to make the office run smoother is accept payments for your licenses by credit card, renew your dog license online, and we recently updated the website this year, making the information more available. We've applied for shared services grants with other municipalities to start the process of digitizing our records. What I would like to accomplish in my next term is to adopt a records retention policy that I have drafted and instituted to be used by all departments. Can you continue to streamline the processes to make the office run smoother and have other departments join on and have better records retention policies and to be able to start digitizing all of our records. And I want to work with other communities for shared grants. I've already been discussing with our local fire department and our village the ability. Okay, thank you. I wasn't able to finish.
All right, next we're going to hear from the candidates for town councilman, and first, by drawing straws, is John Midwood.
Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is John Midland. I'm running for re-election to the Northeast Town Board. I grew up in Millerton, graduated from Weevutuck High School in 2007, went away for college, and returned here to make a home with my lovely wife, Emily. I'm a licensed insurance agent at the State Farm Agency in Red Hook. And when I was first elected in 2015, I was 26 years old, and I feel I've achieved a lot, and I'm proud of my work on the town board. Just want to recap some of my accomplishments over the past 4 years. I brought video replay of town board meetings to the public, served on the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee, worked with village officials to produce the Millerton Pedestrian Plan, and improved communication with residents by creating a town Facebook page and updating the town website. And as a councilman, I opposed measures which would have overregulated residents of the town, including tabling the grass maintenance law. In my second term, I will have the following goals. 1, help attract a new supermarket to Millerton to serve the community. This is a critical need and has to be front and center on the incoming board agenda. Broadcast town board meetings live on cable TV. This is the next step to making it easier for residents to access the activities of your town government. Finish the town village highway garage on time and on budget, and revamp town zoning for the 21st century, guided by our updated 2019 comprehensive plan. It's been an honor to serve you all on the town board during my first term. I've learned a lot, and I'm excited to build on the skills I've gained to better serve the people of this wonderful community. I ask for your support on Election Day, November 5th. Thank you.
All right, and next is Rob Cooper.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. As you all know, my name's Rob Cooper. I was born and raised here, as was my wife, Tammy. We have 4 grown sons. I run a local business here that employs 18 people, 6 of which that live in the town of Northeast. I care for this town and its people. I'm going to concentrate on local politics and be focused on working for the good of the town. I'm going to look closely at the costs that the town has and try to reduce them without reducing services. I'm very interested in the new town highway garage. I was appointed by our current supervisor, George Kay, a few years back to a committee to find a suitable location, which of course was successful. I plan working closely with the village of Millerton and the NECC on many issues. Being a former multi-term village trustee and a current board member of the NECC, I am very interested in the village as it is the heart of our town. It is the business center of our town. As for the grocery store, we try hard to attract stores here. With the limited commercial space, it's going to be tough, and big chains don't like the low traffic counts that we have here. I think everybody can agree with that. they like to have at least 10,000 cars, so it's gonna be a tough road. Luckily, the NECC has, the Northeast Community Center has stepped up and they're busing people to local stores, which is a great thing. We are lucky to have them. Thank you for having me.
Good. All right, and Lynn, your turn.
Good evening. As many of you know, I grew up in the town of Northeast on my parents' dairy farm located on Silver Mountain. I still live there, near my childhood home. I've had a 34-year career with Salisbury Bank, and during that time I wore many hats. Before the time I retired in March of 2017, I'd risen to the level of vice president, and in January of 2010, I became the first branch manager of our new Millerton branch. My staff and I successfully met our 5-year goals in the first 2 years. I'm still employed by Salisbury Bank as their mail courier 1 day a week. Much easier. During my career, I served on numerous boards in our surrounding communities as their treasurer. I currently serve as the treasurer of the Northeast Millerton Library Board. During this past summer, I received several phone calls asking me to consider running for town board. I admit that I was reluctant to accept the invitation at first because I had no experience serving on the municipal board. After much consideration, I decided that it was the right time to get more involved with the community where I live and care very much about. While campaigning, I've enjoyed listening to the residents and learning about their thoughts and concerns. Their ideas and knowledge have given me a lot to think about. There'll be many challenges along the way, but I believe with my leadership skills, my financial background, and my tenacity will make me an effective board member. I look forward to working with the board to help Northeast grow and to continue to be the best rural town in Dutchess County. Thank you.
Okay, and now for the candidates for District 19 in the Dutchess County Legislature, starting with Dick. No, that's right. Did you have one?
I did have one.
You have one.
Right, yeah, it
My
doesn't
fault.
matter. It's all good.
Great.
It's all good. It's all good. We could, yeah, we could have done, we just did this the other night, so we can probably do each other's. I did write notes tonight, which I don't usually do. I usually speak off the cuff, and then my wife gets mad at me. So I am Greg Pulver. I'm currently your Dutchess County Legislator, almost the chairman of the Dutchess County Legislature, which is a great honor. It means that 25 of my colleagues chose me to be represent them as their lead dog. I do a lot of dog references because we have 5 Siberian Huskies at home. Pollution is a great threat we face in this country. Climate change. The county's addressing that. We are just received our Bronze Climate Smart Community Award. We're installing a solar array at the airport that will be able to power 375 homes. I was honored to author the styrofoam ban, and I know Cumbie's hasn't done it yet, but they had less than the required number of franchisees in Dutchess County, so they kind of fall through a little loophole. We'll work on that. And we also banned plastic bags before the single-use plastic bags before the state did. But there's more dangerous pollutant out there. And as Dick will probably attest, we saw it the other night in Stanfordville. It's happening in local government. From Washington to Albany to now local government has been the insults, the finger pointing, the bad behavior. The legislature isn't conducted like that. When I became chairman, we did a 100 cups of coffee program put on by our, sorry, 15 seconds. I knew I was going to not get through this. But anyway, I just want everybody to realize that I'm not running on a Republican platform or a Democratic platform. I'm running on the platform for District 19 and what's good for each and every one of us. And all of you can call me at any time of the day and get my voice on the phone at any time. Thank you.
I don't have trouble with my my notes in Stanfordville, so I'm not going to use it anymore. I think most of you know me from working on the streets in Millington for the past 44 years. I grew up in Long Island. I started coming to Millington when I was probably about 2 weeks old. My grandparents lived on Main Street, and they probably should have warned me, but I ended up living on Main Street in my store pretty much for decades. Which will attest to that. Besides running a business that started really from scratch and has grown into a pretty substantial business, we have a second store in Rhinebeck. I've tried to stay involved in the community. I was on the library board when I first started the bookstore. And, but soon after that, I got involved in the rail trail, trying to keep the rails from being abandoned, and then transferring that into a project that we all know well called Harlem Valley Rail Trail. I also have worked in Pine Plains, where I live, on the school board. I'm currently on the planning board. And I've tried really in every way to be involved in the community. I worked with Ralph on the Irondale Schoolhouse. I'm the treasurer of that Friends of the Irondale Schoolhouse group. In terms of my vision for serving this community, I think it really comes down to economics and the environment. We have to find ways to grow our economy a little bit without messing things up here. So we really live in one of the most beautiful places in America, without doubt. I've really traveled a lot, and we have really something very special here. So we need sewers, water treatment, as they say. We need a little economic development, maybe some small artisan businesses coming in to help us out, and we have to promote our trails and open spaces.
Okay, now it's all up to you. So remember to state your name and who you're directing your question toward.
Hi, my name's Barbara Angerin, and I live in Millerton, and for 12 years, but I've been living in Millbrook for 25 years before moving here. And I want to know from each and every one of you what you would change, if anything, in this community. What would be your #1 priority?
Okay. Why don't we start with the town council folks, and come up with that?
Sure.
Happy to do that. And,
Well, I think one of
1
the,
minute, just so you know. Go ahead.
oh, that won't be a problem. I think mainly, when I was out campaigning and talking to people, their main concern is the lack of a grocery store. So that would be my main concern starting out, working with the board to get that accomplished.
Okay. Well, why don't we go to you, Lisa, next? We'll just go down that table.
Okay, well, what I would change is just to try to get more of our residents to come down to town hall to access the services that we have available for them. And just to call whenever they have any question.
I believe the circulation of information. I know we have great resources like the Northeast Community Center. We have the Dutchess County Office for the Aging. They will provide some pamphlets. There are different things that paperwork that you can get, but unless you know to ask certain questions or understand, it sort of falls to the wayside. So I think a great way of circulating information for services, getting the word out, let people be aware that there is help for heating, that there is help for the elderly in different fashions, that the Northeast Community Center offers tax preparation services. I wasn't even aware of that until I was looking for volunteer work, and I came across it. So I just believe the circulation of information for all residents.
Chris?
Yeah, I would go back to our local economy, as I was talking about earlier. The The supermarket is the most visible example of that. Something that I would like to change, in terms of what I would change, would be to help the village bring a wastewater treatment system here, because that is the thing which does prevent a lot of businesses and other economic opportunities coming here.
I don't understand what you mean about the wastewater system. How does that affect real estate?
Because we have businesses that do not want to open up here if they have to use a septic system for a restaurant.
Oh, so you want, okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we go back to Rob's, the town tax, and then we go to...
I would agree with Chris on the wastewater treatment plant. We're very limited on the main street and the business. I know of a business in town that's very limited. He just bought a building and he can't do much with it without the wastewater treatment plant. I'd also like to encourage business owners to not park in front of their own businesses. It happens quite a bit. I'm so against it, it really makes me mad. I'm gonna try to work on that, make people more aware of where they can park and keep their space open for customers. Fine.
John?
I'd have to agree with Chris and Rob, is the sewer system, wastewater treatment would be a high priority, because that would stimulate economic development, and I would like to see more young folks have more opportunities to settle here after they graduate from Weavertuck High School, and not move away because they can't find enough, can't find jobs.
Or housing. Housing's an issue too, which would be impacted by the lack of a septic system. One of the things I think that will change, and because I've been advocating for it for about 30 years, is the trail, is the Harlem Valley Rail Trail, because it brings lightly treading visitors who spend a little money, so they boost the economy. They don't ask for a lot of services themselves. The county is going forward to create the next 8-mile section of this trail. Our organization, the Harlem Valley Rail Trail, that I chair, is going to be creating a bridge nature education center right in the village, on this bridge and out along the trail. And I think that'll be just a really positive thing that will, along with the other stuff that needs to happen, will revitalize and build Millington up a little bit more.
Talk about change. The thing I wish I could change is the scourge of the opioid crisis in our communities. You know, we talked about opportunities. We talked about that's what's killing our opportunities for our youth. We've been advocates of trying to change the behavior of youth. The crisis or the stabilization center in Poughkeepsie has been a model. We're not winning by any way, shape, or form in Dutchess County, but we're far ahead of a lot of other places. And the stabilization center, which is open 365 days, 24 hours a day, is the first step in trying to get people to help. When an addict needs help, they can't wait till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. They have to go someplace. The stabilization center is being toured every week by different communities across the nation as a method to try to do that. Because if we can't build up our youth and get this scourge of opioid away from them, we're going to lose. That's the change I'd like to see.
Well, that's a great question. Okay. Yes, exactly.
My name is Kevin McEvely, and shockingly, I've been living here for 23 years. This is the first time I've been to one of these. My questions are for Mr. Hermans and Mr. Colbert. We talk about the economy, we talk about growth, we talk about the environment, and this is a part of the county that is not served by mass transit. It falls to the community center, we've got an aging population, we've got traffic and parking issues. What are we going to do about it?
So, agreed, the loop bus system, which was here a while ago and has been discontinued because of lack of ridership, quite honestly. When the loop bus system was first put in, it was basically a usage only by IBMers to get to and from IBM during the gas crisis back in the 70s. And then ridership fell off. So I think what the transit system is now looking at is to expand. We're looking at trying to find out what communities need and how to do it. and then certainly the Northeast Community Center's model is great, and maybe we have to expand that to the other small towns around. And certainly the county's willing to do that, but we have to look at the utilization. We can't just, have people sitting around doing, sitting in a van waiting for people. It has to be done correctly. And when I was the town supervisor in Pine Plains, we were the ones that started this whole system with the Northeast Community Center. We were the ones that looked at this system. So I think it's something that we can expand upon. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The Northeast Community Center's project it's almost a fledgling project. They have a limited number of vehicles, and if the vehicles break down, they really don't have much funding to repair. And I think the county can help get them a little more robust, and as Greg said, spread it to other towns, and get the money there to keep the vehicles up. And I guess drivers can be volunteers, but maybe some professional drivers also kind of keep this thing operating as it's needed for senior citizens who can provide for their own transportation.
Yes.
And my name is Andrew Stamen. This question is for John Whitman. You were the only candidate who was on the Comprehensive Planning Committee. What was that like? What was that process like? And how can the town best move forward with its recommendations?
So the Comprehensive Plan Committee, I feel the committee did a great job. If I say so myself, thank you, Edie, as well. Edie was the chair. I think the product that we worked on over the course of about 2.5 years and will serve the town well. We did a lot of outreach in that throughout the course of working on that project. For example, one of the groups that actually Edie and I went to was the senior government class in Weaveduck High School, where we got the feedback from the seniors as to what they would like to see in the town Northeast and the village of Millerton. And I think it's going to be very important going forward first we got to adopt the comprehensive plan formally, but then implement it during the next, and that's what I plan to focus on in my next 4 years, is to really work to implement the plan. It doesn't do any good if it just sits on the shelf. It needs to be put into practice.
Good. Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Michelle Long, and my question is for Gail Wheeler. I was wondering, how would you use technology to improve services to the residents of the town of Northeast?
As far as technology goes, obviously, the website, I think, is one of the biggest resources. And as Lisa mentioned, that was something that was updated this year. And looking at that, moving it forward, that I think is an excellent resource. I myself, because everybody is different, I would change some features of the website, make it a little more user-friendly. But when you can utilize the website for transactions, for anything, online, getting things done when the office is not open, basically have that accessible to you, just as an ATM is accessible to you, with a bank, the more you can do, and you can reduce cost, so.
Okay, right there.
Hi, my name is Delora Brooks. I live in the village of Millerton. I'm the ZBA chair. I'd like to say that this talk about wastewater, this is for everybody. It's going to require a tremendous amount of money. I, again, this week am putting in my 3rd wastewater system in my backyard. I can't do it again. The next time is $50,000 for a new system. I would like to see that everyone, especially those that are at the county level, have communication with the state in getting us the money we're going to need to resolve this problem. It isn't just a business problem. It's a problem for the entire community. And we're running out of time. What do you think you could do, and I know what we're doing locally, as county officials to help us remedy and get this project moving? We've been at this now for over 40 years. That's way too long. What can you do to help us?
Well, I think the idea of getting federal money and state money to assist down here is really important. And it isn't just the town of Northeast or Millerton, it is Pine Plains is in the very same boat right now. And I don't expect to get much help during the Trump administration, but hopefully after that, resources at the federal level will be made available. Because clean water is really one of the priorities of the federal government, has been since the Nixon administration. And I think that clean water and the usage there by communities is really a high priority. I think that might be all I have to say.
Well, one of the things that we do in the county is, in the Program for Manageable Growth, PMG program that we have, not only do we set, do things for setting aside properties and stuff for purchase development rights, but one of the things we do is offer is grants to small towns and villages. Red Hook, Hyde Park has taken some advantage of those. And then when I was town supervisor in Pine Plains, we had great success in the USDA, getting grants from them, very low interest rate grants, loans and grants combination to do our water system in Pine Plains, which was horrendous at the time. And so I think it's a partnership between the towns, which we've worked with well together in the past, the county, the state, and the federal government. But certainly we have the programs to help you, absolutely.
Great. The other side?
Hi, I guess I have an opposing opinion on that. I think that the idea that we're going to go to the federal government or the state government or something, that just means that we're spending tax dollars. It's not like it's free money or something. It comes from our pockets eventually. And one of the beauties of this town, and up in the northeast corner of Dutchess County, is that it's relatively low taxes. And I come from Westchester County, where my dad's taxes were about $20,000 a year. That's a mortgage payment. So I shudder to think what would happen if we had to. It isn't like the sewer system goes in and then it's done. There's an ongoing maintenance thing. It's a fee that all of us are going to have to pay. So.
Do you have a question?
No, I guess I don't.
Can I respond to that? I mean, I feel like we all pay income tax to the federal government, and getting grants from the federal government returns tax dollars to our community. That's the case. When the rail trail, we got $3.5 million. The county got $3.5 million that Senator Schumer was able to arrange of grants that never got used. So there is a reason for money to flow back from the federal government to here. It doesn't necessarily raise our taxes, but it is money that we have invested in our country that's coming back to help us.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say that, and we ran into the same problem in Pine Plains, again, with the water system. Some people didn't want it, they were getting their water for free. But when your wells run dry, or your septic can't be fixed because of, there's, the Board of Health regulations, you need to have the infrastructure in place. The businesses, especially in the village, need, and housing in the village, I don't mean to just say the businesses, they need a sanitary way to get rid of their waste. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, there's ongoing maintenance, but the technology now is better than it was 20 years ago, and the plans that are out there, can be, massaged to make it as efficient as possible. And quite honestly, if there's buy-in from the town and the people that want to do it, that's where you need it. And if they need it, they need it, period.
Good, thank you. So you did ask a question.
Bill Kish. So those of you who are on the town board right now know that I've been to many of the meetings during this past term. And one of the things that I've observed and complained about is that the town board often engages in discussions in either executive session or what's called attorney-client privilege away from the public, so we don't get to hear the conversations. And there are laws in place called New York State Open Meeting Laws that are designed to regulate when that can happen. And I haven't observed that everybody really understands those laws and what they're meant to do. So I'd like to ask everybody that's running for town council and also for supervisor to describe what their personal feelings are and what their understanding is of the law with respect to open government.
I think executive sessions should be very limited to like personnel issues. Personnel issues that can't be discussed, it's a private matter. That should be an executive session. And executive sessions should be announced ahead of time, not during the meeting. I don't know how they're announced here, I'm not familiar with that. I would like to let the public know what's going on and not hide anything from the public.
So, I think, the executive session, when there are certain times when we do need to exercise that option. One of them is through litigation, when you're dealing with litigation before the town, and you need to discuss litigation, but and others, like I mentioned, was personnel matters. But I think they should be used limited, and there should be a clear discussion of, you should share as much information as you possibly can with the town residents before you go into the executive session.
Well, as I said earlier, I haven't had any experience serving on a municipal board. When I did serve on other boards, occasionally it would come up, but it would be, we'd do executive sessions, again, when it was personnel issues, where it wasn't information that could be shared with everyone. But it's a real learning curve for me on the municipal board, so I'm going to learn as I go.
I feel very strongly that I would like to see the town run as open and transparent a town government as possible. I think that that means keeping executive sessions to the absolute minimum, and attorney-client meetings to the absolute minimum. I think it's important to understand with our attorney-client meetings that sometimes the town is discussing, if the town, let's say, is being sued or bringing an action against somebody, that there's a strategy that is going to be employed. And that's not something that you can just put out there, because otherwise you're really telling whoever it is that you may be opposing exactly what it is that you're planning to do. But I would like to also make sure that people know when we do have an executive session, what the purpose of the executive session is, what the reasons are for it, and anything that would come out of that in public.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing something back.
Martha Schultz, I've lived in this community for 59 years. And this isn't a question, but well, I'll say that for afterwards. The supermarket is certainly something that's important to me and to many of the residents that I speak to. But on that note, we also know that in this town, and lots of little towns, because you want to maintain the small town feel, that sometimes the zoning and the planning regulations prohibit or discourage businesses from coming in. And you've already said that those big chains are looking for bigger traffic than we can offer. So what are you on the board? So I guess I'm addressing this to the town supervisor and to the three candidates. What do you see as ways to entice someone to come into this town? You know, I'm not saying we're gonna bend the laws or bend the rules, but certainly we have to make it appealing to them. And what do you see that we can offer them, or in your mind, as a way to get them to come and establish a business here?
Sure. I think one of the most important things to do initially is to simply work, get the word out that there isn't a potential space for a supermarket. And one of the ways we can do that is work with the county economic development, and which we have done already to get the word out that to chains or other providers that there's a space available. And I mean, I think that is one of the most important things we can do, is just get the word out. And once folks are interested in the space, then we can go from there to attract them and get them to set up sleep.
It's a very complicated issue. Since this has come up, I've been looking at stores and visiting stores, and I've even called corporate, at these stores, Kroger, Albertsons, Shaw's, Tops, Acme. In the process, I've learned that Albertsons owns Shaw's, and they own Acme. I learned a lot. But then Albertsons is not interested in coming to this area at all. But they all want more space than we have up at the Trotters. They want more traffic counts. That's all I hear over and over. It's going to be a tough road, but we have to keep working on it.
And I too realize that it is very difficult to attract a supermarket in our area. I think that we're going to have to work closely with the Economic Development Center, with the county, to see if we can't get one of the larger markets maybe to bring in one of theirs on a smaller scale. It's definitely going to be a challenge, but I know that it's something we need to work on.
Yes, I think Landon's right. We need to look at right-sized markets for our community. We're not Route 9. We don't have that population density, so we need to face that reality and work with it. So I do think looking for operators that are familiar with operating a smaller market, doesn't have to be gigantic, but as long as it has what it is that we need, the basics. There are markets that do that are not enormous. And the county does have tools at its disposal to help attract a new operator of a facility. And that is something that is really important, because this plaza is the thing that you see when you drive into this town from Connecticut, and it's a wasteland, and we have to do something about it.
Okay, good.
Hi, good evening. Scott Culbreth. And I have a question for Mr. Cooper. Rob, I was wondering if you were or had any knowledge of the act recently passed in the New York State government, signed in by Governor Cuomo, called the Climate Leadership Community Protection Act. And if you are aware of that, if you have any ideas on how our community can contribute, or things the community needs to do to try to reach the goals stated in that act?
I'm not familiar with it, but I'm sure it has to do with pollutants, air quality, correct?
Yeah, actually, I think it's trying to identify climate change and take measures to work towards a net zero output by, I think it's 2040.
It would be a tough thing to work on in a small community, but I guess all the small communities have to get involved in things like this, and it's very important. And we encourage people to have electric cars. More charging stations. I'm going to put a charging station in Millerton to encourage more electric cars to come in. And that's one thing I can contribute to that.
My name is John Scuderi. I live here in Philly. My question is for Chris. Chris, I think I can speak for most of us when I say that we're very grateful for your successful grant work. So I'm kind of curious to know, outside of the projects you're working on currently, what's on your mind for future grants, and what's your expectation of your board to help, and how do you get aid from your board to help you with these?
Well, getting grants for the town and the village has been very important. And I'm glad that it was pointed out that while grants come from taxpayers, whether they're county taxpayers, state taxpayers, or national taxpayers. We, by paying our taxes, are paying for the grants that, Columbia County or, Ohio or other places are getting. So I do think it is fair that we do apply for and receive grants. The biggest opportunity for grant money for the town is going to be the new highway garage. And for people who've been following or people who haven't been following it, this year we are building right now on Route 22 a storage building. Next year there's going to be a new salt shed, and the third year in 2021 we will build the actual new highway garage. And that's going to be a big number, and we are going to be aggressively looking for grants to help pay for that.
My name is Molly Jenks, I live in Midtown, and I'm curious, I know in the past I've heard talk about consolidating the town and the village government to save costs and not have educational services. So I'm curious from the town council members and Chris, what your thoughts are on that, or if this is something that put to bed, and I'd like to hear from the incumbent first.
So that's something that it's not done, it would be, if that were to happen, it would be an act from both the town board and the village board. And,
How about the residents?
say again?
The residents wouldn't have a say?
Well, you elect the representatives to the town and the village, so if that's something that I would honestly would have to look more into. I don't come in, as of now, I don't have a position one way or another. I'd have to look into it more and see if cost savings and kind of do my research on it. I don't have a position on it.
I like the fact that we have a village government within our town. We have a state-of-the-art village. But we also have a unique situation where we can take advantage of shared services here and get more money from the county and the state. I believe I've heard that from George Kay many times, that since we have the village and the town, if we share services, we have access to more money, grant money. And it's a unique situation that I don't think occurs in too many places in New York State.
Is there a need in Dutchess County?
I agree with Rob. I used to think that that would be a way to cut expenses by joining make it one entity, the village and the town. But through all of my campaigning and talking with people, I've realized the opportunity to have both entities, because we're gonna do more joint services and we can get more grant money to do that by having both of them. So, and they're working very well together, and I hope that continues.
We are working well together, and I think that's one of the things that I feel good about what has happened in the last few years between the town board and the village board. There are areas where working together can save money. As I mentioned before, the new highway garage is going to be shared between the town and the village. I think this is a really important step. We have one highway garage for both sets of trucks and equipment. And we're not merging the highway department with the village's crew, but they will be using the same facility, the same fueling station, the same salt shed, the same building, the same storage building. That is going to be a saving, and it's an appropriate saving. And I think where we can take practical, simple steps forward to saving money, it's in all of our interest.
Okay, yes.
My name is Tom Parrott. I have a question about the town clerk's office. I'm just interested in knowing, having never actually been in the records area of the town, what kind of shape are the records actually in at the moment? Lisa, you mentioned that you want to digitize some. Are they all paper files? Are they in boxes? How long does it take you to retrieve a typical record? And the second part of that question, is how can we improve what we have now? And Gail, if you could comment on that also, please.
Currently, most of our records are in paper format, either in the department's offices or our inactive ones are stored in our record retention room that's located in the basement of the building. Each department has a section of shelving that is dedicated to them, and those boxes are located there with whatever is stored in the boxes labeled on the outside. Some departments do need some more work. That's why I've drafted a record retention policy that I'm looking for the board to adopt this year, and that way that policy will be a guideline for the other departments to come on board to work with myself and give them some guidance as to how long they need to keep their paper records for, what we need to dispose of per the record. It's a New York State record retention policy that we have. So, and then as far as electronic stuff, right now we currently have minutes from planning board, zoning board, town board, all electronic, and our vouchers, which are our claim payments for the last 6 years. And can I just finish one more thing? I look forward to bringing more of those documents into electronic format as we get in the future.
By scanning them or just?
Well, first organizing them and disposing of what we don't need to keep per the New York State record retention policy, and then bringing them onto electronic format eventually, yes.
Yeah.
When I was actually working for the ZBA and the deputy town clerk's position, there was one instance I recall where it was a 3-day search trying to find parcel information. It did turn out that there was a box that was in the building department. I think it was just a matter that it wasn't filed appropriately. It did take extra time for that. So I do think that we have an excess of paper that needs to be, reviewed. I know there are maps. There are different documents between, the offices. It takes a little bit of research. The first thing, I think Lisa mentioned, we have to organize it, we have to go through it, we have to search it for duplicates. From that point, I think it's phases. It's that first, making a plan to move forward and scan and get everything done, to get it to retention and to move it on. It is definitely a multi-phased process, absolutely.
Okay. Who else? Back there?
Yeah. Judy Westfall, I've lived here since 1981. I have a question about the fact that you guys were at one point along the same lines talking about moving the town hall. Is there still talk of doing that? The town board members. Chris?
No.
Okay. Still have 59 seconds.
Tell me how you really feel. Well, on the same line, I am one of the members of the community that would like to see the town halls combined into one building. And we're pouring money down a sinking rabbit hole in the village. And I think it would save us money in the long run to address this problem. The building probably is close to 300 years old in the village of Millerton. And it's not in the best shape. So there's another way we could save money. But my question is, there's one person on the board that's in his 30s. What can the rest of the members on the board, what would your projection or format might be to get young people to join government? Do you have an approach to get younger people pulled in? Nothing about your age, because I'm not an age hater, but it's just that I'm just saying I think we've got to have an idea about doing this, a future. What's our future without young people?
Make people aware at the high school, we talk to guidance counselors and encourage kids to come to the town board meetings. It might be tough to do, they have no interest in it. But same with all the community centers, same with the Friends of the Iredale Schoolhouse. We always try to encourage younger people to come around. A lot of them are not interested, but it's definitely something to think about.
And it's difficult to keep young people in our area. There's not, they don't have job opportunities here and the housing, so it's, that in itself is difficult just to keep them here. So we have, that's a big project to work on.
So, I mean, it's kind of to echo what Lana was saying, is I think in order to get more young people involved in town government, for one, we just need to have town policies be more supportive of young families that have more affordable housing, more career opportunities, and more recreation opportunities as well.
Can I just make the briefest comment? People talk about.
Question, so do you form the question?
I'm sorry?
Can you frame the question?
Yeah, people talk about the housing problem, and it seems to me that the most logical thing, I want to know how people feel about this, is to do a survey of all the empty buildings. There are many, many empty buildings. People are talking about building new. Would you agree to work to survey all the buildings in the town to see which ones are empty, to make that known so that possibly they could be reformed and converted into housing? I mean, I can think of 10 in the village. That's a question.
Okay, is it one person? I have an answer. Who's it for?
It's for the members of the town board as candidates.
Does anyone want us to affordable housing?
It's certainly it's worth looking into, because I do believe we need to have affordable housing, not only for the young people, but for our aging community as well.
Right, but I'm asking about the survey, because we have these buildings. They sit there, and people say, we don't have housing. We need to survey these. I mean, does it seem like a good idea?
I would like to know about the 10 buildings you're referring to. You'll have to let me know.
I know I'm speaking out of turn, but the Tri-Town Committee is already doing a survey. They're doing a survey.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
That's good.
We got an answer from the audience. Okay, we're running down to a close. Is anyone else, since you had a chance, I know someone else had a second question, I just want to make sure there's no one else. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, this question is for Dick and Ray. This January, at the latest, the Cricket Valley Power Plant in Dover will be coming online. And that is probably the largest gas-fueled power plant in the northeast United States. It's a 1.1 gigawatt plant. And it's going to be blanketing the area with greenhouse gases, volatile organic compounds, sulfuric acid, all sorts of pollutants. What can be done to protect the residents of Dutchess County from this pollution?
I think the horse is out of the water on this one, unfortunately.
So that's your answer, is nothing?
Well, I mean, I would support a supplemental environmental impact statement. I don't think that it's going to happen, but I would support it. This project didn't get very much local opposition down in Dover. And it was seen as a job creator, and so the energy to stop it never got formulated, didn't become a county-wide issue, and people in Connecticut were shut out of the permitting process. It is a negative, for sure. But I don't think there's anything that's going to happen to stop it this way. I don't think the governor will intervene, and that's what it would take.
All right, we're going past
Well,
the so do you want to, I'm sorry.
Sure. I agree that the governor had the opportunity to stop that if he wanted to and chose not to. But what we're trying to do, as I said earlier, with the Climate Smart Task Force, we're trying to mitigate all the other things to try to make the quality in Dutchess County better. It's understandable that Dover might not have oppose this because of the amount of tax dollars that they think they're gonna get out of this. But the truth of the matter is, we're gonna try to do everything we can in county government to clean up the air that we have. And unfortunately, we have this one polluter that's there, and we're gonna make sure that our board of, our community board of health, does the air sampling and stays on top of it. But quite honestly, the governor could have, with a stroke of the pen, could have stopped it if he wanted to. I mean, we need energy of some sort. I don't know if that's the best way. That's why we're doing the solar arrays. We're switching a lot of our fleet over to electric cars in the county. We're trying to do the small things that we can do to continue to clean up.
I've got a question, mainly for Greg, but if Dick wants to chime in afterwards, I'd appreciate it. All this grocery store talk that's going on here tonight, Greg, is there anything, we had a meeting, I think you had a representative here in the town.
Yeah, so.
What incentives can you think of?
So I think, I'll stand for this.
Yeah.
So I think what I recommended, we got the town involved with our economic development guru in the county. But I will tell you, the number one thing that can be done to help enhance this all along is to have pick a site. Tell however you have to do that as a community, whether you have to deal with the trotters, whether you have to pick a new site and have it shovel ready or have it ready to open. The last thing you want to do is get somebody interested in doing a grocery store, and they get there, and now they have a year and a half in front of a bunch of bureaucracy. Because they're not going to do it, people. I'm telling you that right now. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do in Dutchess County in our economic development center, is tell communities, figure out what you want. Look at your towns, figure out what you want. Obviously, nobody wants a Cricket Valley, so make sure that you don't get a Cricket Valley. But what you may want is a small manufacturing thing, clean jobs. So look at the areas, look at those things and try to do that. And have those sites ready to go, so when a potential business comes in, they can say, okay, we're ready to go, this is what it costs, here's the fees, and it's shovel ready and ready to go. Because I tell you, most people stop after 2 years in the planning board.
I think one option, it may sound like a far out option, but if we are sitting here 3 years from now with no grocery store, the community ought to talk about doing a food co-op and operating it ourselves as a community, because it can be done. It's not rocket science. It is, I started one back in 1970 in Tucson, Arizona, just out of college, and that one is still running. If community's involved and supports it, it can work. We have the skills in the community to run a grocery store, and if everything else fails, that's really, if you want something, that's really an option. Co-ops are viable entities in New York State law. They are well regulated, and they have formats that are workable. And it's just a matter of people learning how to do it and getting the people to volunteer, and to the point when you can afford paid staff.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Steve Abad, and I've been here for about 12 years or so. My question is for Mr. Polar and Mr. Ernest. What can you do to help the situation with the Northeast? I'm kind of a little bit off here, but or a school district is a desperate need. That way the state looks at a school district, looks at it as a rich organization, which we're not. We have a lot of people, a lot of wealthy people that have owned second homes, their homes here or whatever, and their income counts. So where state aid for the school is kind of upside down. We depend more over taxpayer money than in the state aid. It's $14,000 comes out of our pockets, and only like $14 million and $8 million out of state aid. Is there anything that you can do to help us, to help offset that?
I would love to just change the state aid formula. I'd like to change the way we fund school districts, quite honestly. One of the things that we have to look at is and we don't do it at the
Yeah, it's not really
county level.
Right.
But, one of the things that has to be looked at is some more consolidation in school districts. I mean, You know, why do we have a school superintendent? You know, Arlington has 7 or 8 buildings and thousands of teachers and tens of thousands of kids, 1 school superintendent. But Pine Plains, with 900 kids, 2 buildings, has a school superintendent. And Weebatuck has, you know, maybe we ought to combine school superintendents. Maybe we ought to get more regionalized approach to the middle management of schools. I mean, the thing that a lot of school boards have done over the years is add middle management. And that's something that we can certainly look at. And then, of course, we would advocate, or I would advocate to the state legislature that we need to, you know, continue to look at the way we fund school districts. But that's been a can that they've kicked down the road for years.
Yeah, I agree with really almost all of that. It really should be, funding of school districts should be based more on income tax than on property tax. It's just, you know, it's an old system that really doesn't apply anymore, particularly when you have such disparity in this community where we get rated as a wealthy community when in fact most people are not. And while I was on the school board, it was really irritating to me, and it still is, of how the pecking order in schools and how he's not a school superintendent. It really is a crazy situation where you have seat time and you climb up, and the salaries are really crazy. And you'll come and get somebody working for 3 years and retire, and your district is paying that bill for their health insurance for the rest of their life. It's a weird system that really needs reform.
Okay, no more school questions though. Just because they can't control it. But what, anyone else have any questions? We're after 8 o'clock, if it's fine, if somebody else has something, we can continue. Yes?
Yeah, I'm just curious about this weird thing called the county clothing tax, which, could you both address this? It's been was reinstated recently, apparently? No, it's not.
No. We have not touched the clothing tax for 6 years that I've been in the legislature.
It was out when the Democrats last had it, and it's a tax, a 4% tax on clothing of under $110, and most, if not, well, probably the vast majority of counties in New York State do not collect this tax. Westchester County does not collect this tax. New York City does not collect this tax, and I think we can do without it here in Dutchess.
Well, then, but to balance the budget, then it's going to go on land tax or something else. So just be, you know, the money just doesn't disappear.
Right. But 4% on clothing, small clothing items, hurts the poorest people the most.
I think the rest of the citizens can certainly afford the tiny bit of extra tax that might be spread around so that poor people could clothe themselves more.
I will certainly bring it to the county exec. When he does his budget, we'll certainly bring that up.
Okay, any other questions? All right, well, I want to thank everyone for participating tonight. You asked great questions, and this is what democracy is all about. So thank you for participating. The candidates will be here for a few minutes if you'd like to speak with them. Let's all give them a hand.